Hey guys, Amy here, a part of the Midwest team at Redox Bionutrients, and I am here with a special guest today, Mr. Mark Stevenson from Forge, who's based in Rockford, Illinois. And we were just having a conversation before we got started about like how we first connected with the whole Forge and the Redox conversation, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So many moons ago, I had asked about a company named Redox. And I think I went onto their website and did one of the normal, like, tell me more things. And Amy Burke's the one who called me with her Boston accent. And I was like, wow, this is the first time I've ever heard that in my entire life. Person in ag from Boston. So that was interesting. And I said, like, hey, this plant charge balance thing, I go through an awful lot of agriculture stuff. I go to a lot of meetings and I've never heard anybody talk about this before. Tell me what I'm missing. And she started running me through all that. And we had talked about that. And then way further down the line, we ended up talking about RDXN and I did some trials on the farm. And so we ended up doing the trial on that and kind of getting more involved. And then from that, from seeing the trial work that we've done and other people have done, I started to become more and more comfortable with the company of Redox. And for somebody who is personally very distrustful of pretty much all products, because I spent my entire life in ag and most products don't work. We all have seen that. I got more and more comfortable with Redox and kind of like got talked to like, hey, maybe you guys should think about being a dealer. And it just built from there, right? Like I built a relationship with Amy, built a relationship with the company. They had me out to Burley, Idaho, and man, sitting and talking to or listening to Darren Moon, talking to Darren Moon, talking to the docs that are out there. The stuff that they talk about is stuff you don't hear anywhere else, and it is not sales heavy. It is not pixie dust. I actually think they probably could be a little more salesy in the messaging that they send, but it's great stuff. It's cutting edge stuff. It's stuff that they've learned and they've come by the hard way. And they truly believe in their products. They believe in taking the time of bringing their products to market only when it's ready. They definitely believe in bringing products to market only when it's been fully tested because they have a name that they're putting behind these products. And that name is something they protect very hard. And they only want to bring in certain people to become dealers and they only want to put out certain products. And any company that is vetting their products and their people as strongly as they are and hiring people like Amy to help protect those products and get them to the right spots, they're going somewhere. And Forge would love to help them get it there and go along for the ride as well.
Appreciate that. And you were definitely a tough customer. You gave us a run for the money, asked us some really tough questions out of the gate. But I think from one family business, Redox being a family-owned business for over 32 years to your family business on your family farm. And I guess share about your background. You said you've been in ag your whole life. You've got a family farm.
Right. So we run about 5,000 acres here in the northern Illinois area, right on the border between Wisconsin and Illinois. Been in my family for multiple generations, so I've got the farming credentials behind me to show that I've been in farming. So we've always been a labor constrained family. Our family doesn't have a lot of people involved outside of my direct family, and I'm only child myself. And now that it's just me left on the farm, people has always been a short spot for us. So as an abnormality on our farm, we also have a lot of employees, right? Because that's the only way you're going to bring in people. So we have Matt, my internal agronomist, who works for Forge, but he also directly supports Severson Ag and makes sure that we're doing the very best choices and making the best product decisions, doing the best operations, doing the best agronomic work that we can, as well as we do an awful lot of outside agronomic work, which is how we got onto the RDXN trial, right? And that's all through our total acre network of growers, which is a whole nother thing to talk about. So yeah, between the operation that we have on the farm side, on the logistics trucking side that we also do to support the farm, but do an awful lot of outside work on that. Forge is kind of that new venture that it got started. I started doing some bankruptcy workout work with that company. It was created for that work. And then when we started looking into doing more outside consulting, and we brought Matt on, then we started working with companies that we had a good spot for products that were really good products, and they also don't have a good market or not market. They don't have a lot of go-to-market points in our area. That's when we were like, all right, we could probably spread into these areas and help people out, get to products that are going to be useful for them that they can't get at the ag retailer, right? Ag retailer doesn't deal with these kind of things. Products like Humix and RDXN and sugars and Fulvix and all that kind of stuff that more high management producers are probably more interested in, more sustainable kind of minded producers are more looking at. That's where we look at. So we are not in the 32% market, right? Like we are not doing any bulk fertilizer. We don't do really any chemical sales. So that's how we kind of got Forge going the direction that it is. If that makes sense, Amy.
Yeah, and we talked about you had connected with us early on, so I'm sure, intriguing out of the gate talking about plant charge balance and folks can learn more on our website at redoxgrows.com. I'm curious, you mentioned RDXN, right? You guys did a trial through the Total Acre Network, which we're going into our third year worth of trial with that group, and we love you guys. But I guess when you first heard about RDXN and the ability for it to increase the plant's ability to metabolize nitrogen at a higher rate, I guess first thoughts about how you'd apply it onto your farm last year, what were you looking to get out of it, and maybe what you're looking at for this year.
Absolutely. Well, let me tell you the story to get to that story first. And I know you've heard this story before, Amy, but so when we first started, when I brought this product in as a product to try, my agronomist Matt, he hated it. He absolutely hated the idea of it. He said, "This is just another snake oil thing that
Snake
Mark's
oil.
getting roped in on 100% what would happen." So
Yep.
he made it his mission to make this product not work, right? He was out there tissue sampling it every week and comparing it to the control group. He was monitoring it, and the whole time along, I remember when he came to me the morning, it was like 2 or 3 weeks in after he had been doing the tissue sampling and looking at this product and we had applied it. And he is like, I really hate to say it, but I think this product's actually working. He's like, for some reason, I mean, all the tissue samples are higher in all of these other nutrients. And even the N is higher here than where we applied it elsewhere. It's killing me, but I think it's working. That's what he said. And I was like, well, we don't know until we bring it to harvest. So don't get all your hopes up yet, but like it definitely is a good sign. And I'll tell you that I always have a lot of faith in products that you either didn't know were going to work or you expected it not to work, right? Because it
Mhm.
takes some of your confirmation bias out. And so when we got this product, we tried it, we saw success with it. We see other people having a lot of success with it. The PTI farm did that trial that showed really good agronomy. You have really good testing going on and they're still seeing results. And then you
Yeah.
have growers like Alex Harrell. Alex Harrell had tremendous results in all the different ways that he applied it. That's another total acre grower, right? That we can have a little bit of faith in how they do their stuff. And then you just keep going from there, right? You go and more growers are doing this and having good results with it in a world where you expect most of them not to work, right? Like most of the people are going to have problems with the trials and it's not going to work. And at least half the time, most products aren't going to work because that wasn't the problem. So that was kind of like the big changing point for me when I was like, all right, I have all this trial data. I saw our own stuff work. We can go somewhere with this. So does that answer your question, Amy?
Yeah, and yeah, I value that we have to ground truth it, right? Even though we've been working with the material for over a decade, we come into the Midwest and we're tapping into new relationships, right? And so you guys have to ground truth it. I know it started with even before that with our soil report that we offer guys, right? It's the Cipher report, which is a composite. It is by no means a silver bullet or to displace the extensive grid sampling that you're doing. But we already talked about opportunities maybe in the field, and this one for RDXN though was different because the opportunity is like actually inside the plant's own metabolic system, right? It's just driving efficiency from the inside out. And looking at ways to leverage that, like you said, you mentioned Alex, he just wanted to get the top end for yield, and he's on very light ground under pivot, so he's losing nutrients as soon as he puts it down. Versus maybe a heavier soil where you have the opportunity potentially to replace. And I'm not saying lighter soil we couldn't replace, right? We could, but that's really I think a lot of growers, and I'm curious for you and your customers, RDXN, you can replace up to 50% of in-season nitrogen. I don't know if a lot of guys are going to do that out of the gate, but I do have a lot of guys looking at maybe a 25, 35, maybe a 40 unit reduction with their side dress potentially. Or again, some of them are going for yield. So just curious, how are you going to use that tool in your toolbox now that you've got kind of the ground truthing under your belt from last season?
Absolutely. The nice thing about RDXN is that it's not a if you don't reduce your nitrogen, then you're not going to see a benefit out of it, right? Well, it's not one of these other nitrogen type products. It's not a nitrogen stabilizer. So if you keep your program exactly the same and you put RDXN with it, it is going to make your plant healthier, right? It is going to help that plant handle the high nitrogen loads it has and metabolize that nitrogen to use it optimally. However, by using that nitrogen more effectively, you are also putting more nitrogen out than you really need. Right. Even if you don't reduce it, it will still make the plant healthier. When you reduce it, you get to recoup that savings. And
Yeah.
right now, with nitrogen prices being out of this world or at multi-year highs, that's a big savings you can keep, right?
Yep.
And when people are struggling to be able to make their break evens work, any kind of money you can save on that is really going to help the system work better. And you're also helping the environment, right? So like the more nitrogen you put out there, the more of those, the natural gas and all those inputs that we have to use to try to grow this crop, that all comes down, and it significantly can change your NUE, which that stands for nitrogen use efficiency for people who haven't gone down that channel before. And it's something people are starting to really grade farms on how well that they are able to efficiently apply their nitrogen, split apply the nitrogen, and then recoup some of those on the back end when they're going to the carbon marketplace, for example, or simply just federal practices, right? Federal practices want you to use less nitrogen total. So the more tools you can use and put in there while maintaining your yields, optimally maintaining the yields or even improving those yields, and using this product, if you can do that, I mean, it's one of those things where RDXN, it kind of sells itself, right? Like most people are going to understand this is a good way forward. And so the question just now is, how do we get this out there for enough people to see it for themselves? Because then once they see it for themselves, they're gonna want it on their own, right?
That's right. Yep, that's right. And you guys are in Rockford, right? You're in Northern Illinois. So if guys are in that area and wanted to get in touch with you because you're gonna be carrying the product, how do they get in touch with yourself or with Matt?
So we are on LinkedIn, we are on Facebook. You can call Matt or I. You should have those contact numbers, I think, through Amy's dealer network. So feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to us by email too. We are always looking to talk to guys and explain to them how this works. Because one of the things that's hard with RDXN is like the actual use that you do it and how you apply it can change depending on the grower and what practices they're doing. Knowing how to place it right and how much to use is just as critical as using the product. And so that's what people like Matt and I can walk you through on your system. How do we get it out there so it's doing its best job for you? And how can you expect that to interpret out through the crop year, right? Like from when you apply it to the end of the year, how is that going to affect that crop and help deal with the nitrogen that's in there?
And you guys are having a grower meeting, I think, on Friday, March 13th, right, at your
Yep,
shop?
March 13th.
Okay.
We are looking. We are trying to decide exactly how many people we're going to have because the number that I had originally told Matt was a smaller number than I think what it's going to end up being. So we're working on trying to figure out how the venue is going to look like on that. But one way or another, we'll get enough space for everybody to be able to see, or maybe we'll have to do more than one day. I don't know. We'll see.
And we'll put a link in the comments here on this video so that folks can connect with you guys directly.
Absolutely. And if they don't have our number, or maybe if they only have us on socials, feel free to message us on there. If you want to come to hear more about RDXN. Who are we gonna have there, Amy?
We're gonna have me, we're gonna have Chad, maybe working on some few other VIPs, but we'll have more than enough and we'll have a lot of good data, like you said, between the Total Acre Network, what we've done at Precision Planting, what we've done in the Midwest that we can show guys, help them dial in where, like you said, the biggest opportunities are in the field with inputs.
Absolutely. And right before that grower meeting is the PTI meeting that we're gonna have in Wisconsin, right? So
That's
if you go to that PTI meeting, and we'll be there, Amy and I will both be there. If you go there and you learn about it and you want to learn more and you don't have time to talk to us when you're there, feel free to come to the grower meeting right after that, right? And
right.
see if you want to learn more about it there.